Okay.
I'm here today with Chris at Outdoor Photo Gear, and Chris and I have been friends for a long time. We've been working together at least from before you started this company.
That's correct.
But I'm currently in the US. I'm here at the moment visiting family in Fairfield, Ohio. But when I found out that it was only a two-hour drive down to Kentucky, and I pronounced it Louisville to a guy in the US, and he said, "No, you say Louisville over there, they'll call you gay and shoot you." So he said, "It's Louisville."
Louisville, yeah, it's like two syllables or so.
Yeah,
you kind of swallow it when you say it.
I'm down in Louisville in Kentucky, and having a great morning, just talking with Chris and catching up. You can see that we're in the Outdoor Photo Gear shop front here now, but this is really, tell us a little bit about it. It's really an online presence. So
we're mainly online. That's probably about 90% of our business, but our local business keeps expanding all the time. We've been a small facility now, mainly set up for packing and shipping. About a third of our stuff goes overseas, actually.
Yeah,
including stuff to you.
Yeah, yeah. You've always I've recommended Outdoor Photo Gear to a number of people, and they've always been really impressed with the fact that you'll ship anywhere, and there's always someone on the end of the phone, and it's, you know, so I've enjoyed working with you over the last, what will it be now, 3 years?
3 years or so.
Yeah.
We both kind of got started up at the same time, and
yeah.
we kept corresponding, and I remember one night I got on Skype. You're in Tokyo, I'm here, and it's just, we both were amazed that, you know, you can talk halfway across the world through our computers. Of course, now it's commonplace, but back then it seemed like a novelty.
It was more cool. We were thinking, wow, this is amazing.
So and then your podcast started up, and big fan of that, always have been. And
oh, thanks.
And so we started about the same time. So this facility here, again, mainly used for shipping. We do have more and more people coming in, so we're actually going to expand and get a bigger facility, and that's going to include some classroom space for workshops. So let's get you back for one of those.
I'm going to be back. I'll be back for that. That's great stuff.
And a lot of product here. We do keep all the products here that we have on our website. We don't put them in a warehouse for fulfillment or whatever. We actually have them here, pick them, ship them here. So we get intimately familiar with all the product. And a lot of people call us for help, and how much does this weigh? Can this fit in this? And we have it right here where we can do that. We're pretty proud of that.
Well, we're going to go ahead and take a look at a few things. I mean, this morning, literally, I walked in and I'd seen this carbon fiber gimbal head on your website, and this was one thing that I was thinking, oh, I hope they've got that, because I'd love to take a look. And it's light as anything, and I'm seriously thinking about picking one of these up. So it is great that you've actually got the stuff in the warehouse so that people can. Anybody's welcome to just come, and if you're in the area, just come and walk in and have a look, right?
It's not a big retail front. We're in actually in an industrial park, so we've got like a wholesale showroom type thing. Yeah. But people like it. The neighbor's dog runs up and down the hall, and employees like it. They're very casual. No glass counters to hide behind like in a normal camera store. Yeah. But this head right here, you know, there's really hasn't been a carbon fiber gimbal head, and gimbal heads are pretty heavy. Yeah. So of course, when I first got this, I'm a little bit suspect, like will it hold? Yeah. Because carbon fiber is not, you know, molded. There you go. So brought my 600 in, Nikon 600, put it on there, bent it like crazy, and it was solid as a rock, and it's very light. And the company is actually, it's hard to pronounce, just like my last name, is called Surui. It's spelled S-I-R-U-I, but for some reason they say it's Surui. Oh, okay. And they make a lot of ball heads. This is their first gimbal head, but if it's anything like all the rest of their stuff, it's highly manufactured very well and will hold up very well. Yeah, we saw a lot of their other pieces, and the price is really good for what you get. Yeah, yeah, it is. It's a nice piece of kit. I'm seriously considering picking. Yeah, I know that's the first thing you went for when you walked in the store. Yeah, you know, people walk in, and even like yourself, being from across the world, we start to have a conversation, and then you drift off and go look at this and look at that. Yeah. It's like a big toy store. It is. It's amazing. I feel like a kid in a candy store at the moment. This is the one that I was thinking of buying, and I still I mean, this is great because you can pull it all down, and but custom brackets. Custom brackets. Yeah. It can make into a side mount gimbal head, a regular gimbal head. It can make into where it attached to your ball head. It's kind of like a Swiss Army knife. Yeah, yeah. Now this I'm still considering this as well. It's a heavy piece, but it's built to hold heavy lenses. Yeah.
I use the original Wimberley at the moment, and I'm still happy with it. It's rigid, but
the 101, the first model with the knob on
very
top,
first
right?
One, yeah.
Of course, they have a new one. Well, it's not new
Yeah,
now, but
yeah.
Big difference, lighter and stronger.
Is that this?
Yes, it is.
There we go. So yeah, this is the one I would love to have upgraded, and this is still not heavy. It's a lot lighter than the one that I use still. But these things, you know, they're not cheap. So it's one of those things that you don't replace unless you really have to.
Well, this is a good upgrade over the other one, especially where the knobs are. And of course, Wimberley's the standard in the gimbal head business. It's almost like Kleenex. People call it gimbal head a Wimberley head. And they're a great company, great guys, and that is the standard. So you can't go wrong with it.
I love the action on them, and they lock down. I mean, this thing here, I just tried it, and it locks. Well, I didn't give it much of a twist, but it locks really, really solidly.
So your old one had the knob up here.
Yeah.
And this is how they have it.
Yeah.
And they're big where you got gloves on, and I know it's cold where you do your workshops. Yeah. We just talked about that.
Yeah.
And that helps from that.
I like the fact that this is here as well, because I often put my elbow under there.
Do you for stabilization?
And put it over the top of the long lens to stop it shuddering. Yeah. I use a really right stuff lens, like a bracket that goes underneath, and that stops the shutter to an amount. But if you're at a certain, there's like a dead zone, I'm sure you know, where I think I found it between like 125th or 50th of a second or so. If you go low enough, then you get shudder, and
you have to have good technique.
The only way you can get rid of it is by hooking this up under your arm and then put over the top of the lens, and you shoot through there, and that will really help to lock things down. So having this ability is good.
Well, you know, in bird photography, which is what I do mainly, we always try to, there's kind of a rule of thumb that you want to keep your shutter speed the inverse of your focal length.
Yeah.
So if you have a 500, you really want to keep it 1/500th or faster. But there are times you just can't do it.
Right. The times that I use it is really when it's almost dark, or either just before dawn or just after the sun's gone down. Obviously, yeah, you're going to want to try and get faster shutter speeds when you can, but there are times when you really you have to go low.
Oh, you have to, and you know we're lucky now though, even compared to 3 years ago.
Yeah, the ISOs are.
Yeah, the camera performances are just off the charts. We think they're off the charts now. No telling what.
Oh yeah, in 5 years. I think that there was a guy, Morton Goldberg, a guy who's really active in my forum and the community, and he mentioned a few months ago that he thinks it's time we rethought the ISO standard, because the numbers are getting ridiculous. So maybe just knock off a naught or a zero or something like that. But maybe it is time to rethink that. But yeah, I mean, it's certainly getting less necessary to do that sort of thing.
And a lot of people are using auto ISO now, which we never would have considered.
I've started using that.
Have you? I have not done that yet. Yeah.
It's for a lot of my wildlife, I still use manual mode. So it doesn't make much difference. It doesn't really mean much to me to just try that. But because the auto ISO, literally, I've gone backwards from auto ISO. Because the high ISOs are getting so usable now, I've started to use that more, and that's actually forcing me in towns and in street photography, things like that. I'm using aperture priority for the first time in probably 10 years, because I can now rely on the ISO as well as the shutter speed. And they've got those auto settings where
you can give the minimum.
You basically what it does is it keeps the minimum. As you were saying, if you're using a 50mm lens, your minimum shutter speed will be 50th of a second.
Right.
And then it starts to crank up the ISO.
Yeah, I need to experiment with that most of it. I'm like yourself, and I was explaining to Clay, our new marketing fella, that when you're shooting birds in flight, you really, he's over there with the other camera, you really want to use manual because your background's going to change, and it'll drive your camera's metering system crazy.
Absolutely.
So we had he's a fashion guy, so we're trying to teach him a little bit about wildlife and birds.
Yeah.
So,
well, I think he'll working in outdoor photo gear now. He's going to come across a lot of people that do that sort of work. So.
Right. Yeah. I told him I did take a picture of a person about 5 years ago. He walked in front of a bird, I think.
Typical of you.
Yeah. So what else? Actually, what you're doing is now you're going to show us your favorites of stuff you've got from us and what you use in your workshops.
Yeah.
Right.
I did a video on this as well a few years ago. It would have been about a year and a half ago now. I used these. What are these? The Neos Overshoes Adventurers.
That's that model of overshoes.
Yep. Neos I have some almost waders from you as well, and these were incredibly useful down in Antarctica because I would put the I'd get my normal trousers inside here, and then I'd put the waterproofs over the top. and basically you make like a valve where the water won't go back up.
I see.
So you can literally walk into the sea past your knees if you've got waterproof trousers
on. You put them over your boots too. Right?
Yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm. So I got the pair. You have a really good scale table on the side that shows you the sizes, and I wear these big, huge, like Yeti boots. They're I think they're from Baffin, or Baffin. I don't know if it's pronounced in a French way, but they're Baffin boots, and they're huge. And I bought a pair of these. They're bigger than these, but they go over the top, no problem. You can walk around them in them all day. They're light as a feather.
They really are. And you can. That's a good thing. You can pack them.
Right.
And
they don't
without
take
adding
a
lot of weight.
Yeah, don't take a lot of weight.
I wrote an article about them because these aren't your mother's rubber galoshes anymore. Right. I mean, they're a totally different thing. Yeah. And speaking of snow monkeys, remember we did a caption contest with the snow monkeys in the pool. Yeah. And the winner got some Neos.
Oh, that was what they won.
We'll have to do that again this year.
Yeah, let's do it again.
We'll get a different snow monkey shots. I think you got a few, right?
I've got a few. Okay. A few. So yeah, these are excellent. I would totally.
Yeah, we sell a lot of those. People have a big trip coming up, and like you say, Antarctica or whatever. Yeah. And that's what they're calling for.
Yeah, and these are my
favorite. It goes along with these, right?
Yeah, I use these in Hokkaido. They've got they're not incredibly warm, but normally when you're photographing, you get all excited and you're going to get warm. Your hands get warm anyway. But these are the Aquatech. What do they call them?
Sensory gloves.
Sensory gloves. Mm-hmm. They're called sensory because they have these little holes in, I imagine, that you can... I'm going to put one of these on and show you, but they have these
I'm glad I picked up your size.
Thank you. They have these holes so you can actually poke your fingers and your index finger and thumb through so that you can do your intricate stuff like changing cards and things, but they're actually thin enough where you can do quite a lot. You can operate your camera with them on. I've recommended these to a lot of people, and they've all been happy with them. I've never heard anyone complain.
A big marketing feature now that really gave them another boost in sales is you can use your iPhone.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because your finger, you can then use it without taking off your gloves.
I see. Yeah, that's cool. But yeah, these are amazing little. Not really little. The one thing that I would say is that because they're not really built for extreme cold. If you are going to be in very extreme cold and you feel as though you might be standing around, when you're doing your photography, you generally warm up. But if you're just going to be standing around waiting for something to happen, you might want to take a pair of additional mittens to go over the top. But that's in really extreme cold, and I've actually stopped taking my mittens on trips because I get hunter's response and my hands get really, really warm.
So these are probably good, down to... Certainly in the 30s, the 20s, maybe down to 0 or so. And then
well, no, I've literally. I mean, the only gloves I wore, did the calculation earlier. Minus 35 degrees centigrade, which is minus 30 Fahrenheit.
And you're saying it's not too cold.
And I
still, negative 30, right?
I still use just these gloves, but that was because I was photographing.
Right.
And I think I've got some Nordic gene or something where when I'm actually doing the photography, my hands get warm, a lot warmer than the people that are with me. So I'm kind of okay.
Yeah.
So don't use this as a standard.
Well, you said it was negative 30, and you're singing about how warm it is, and how your participants are looking at you.
The rest of the group are looking across at me like, what? Okay, no, these are great gloves. Tell you what, I'm going to move these across here a little bit more because what I want to do as well, I'll probably be out of frame at the moment. But if we move these across, what I wanted to also show you is that this is actually the Kiboko, Guragear Kiboko bag. And this is mine. This is what I came over to Japan with. Fits in the overhead lockers in the planes.
Yeah, it does fit international.
I didn't have any problem with it on the domestic flights either. But really, the bag itself is so light that it allows me to put a whole load of gear in. Now, you can put a 600mm in this, a 600mm f4, which I've done. I usually have, on this side, I usually carry my 300mm in the bottom and then the 70-200 in the top. But because I didn't need the 300mm on this trip, I've reconfigured it. I've got the 70-200 here, a dead cat in this side for the mic, which we're not outside at the moment, we don't need that. A few other things, lenses.
You might want to explain what a dead cat is.
Oh yeah, it's to stop the wind on the mic that's on top of the camera at the moment. If you've got a lot of wind, these things will basically just cut out the wind.
And no cats are harmed.
Yeah, no cats are harmed. It's, we usually just use rats. So this is the other side, and you can see, I mean, currently I've got the 1DX is sitting here recording us. That's usually here. I've got a few things down here. I've got a lot of room in this at the moment, but you can see I've got 2 Pro cameras, the 5D Mark III's here. I usually leave a little space here to put the straps in. 24-70, 50mm 1.2, 14mm, and we've got the 16-35 on the camera. But it fits a huge amount of gear in here, and at the moment, because the bag itself is so light.
Yeah, I think it's about 4 pounds. Yeah, 3.5.
This is under 15K, which is the limit for a lot of the flights that I'm on. Some of the flights are 7K, and at those points, the gear will be going into the pockets in my vest, because if I really need to get below 15K, I can by just offloading loads of stuff, and they don't weigh your clothing. But you can see it's just a really well-made bag. The back here, I've spoken about this on my podcast in the past, but all of the straps will go inside. You can tuck them away here, but really very light, excellent bag. And another thing that I wanted to just quickly show you before we move on from the bag is that over the last year or so, Gear have also released the 22L.
Yeah. This was in response to a lot of people wanting a laptop compartment.
Yep.
And it's a little shorter, so you got to put a 500 in it, though, not a 600.
Where does the laptop go?
It's back here.
In the back? Oh,
yeah,
cool.
Right here, the zipper.
I didn't realize that.
Yep. So it's in between the padded back ventilation and your camera gear. So it adds about 1 inch of thickness on it.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit shorter to keep the weight down, and it does carry a laptop, and that's in response to some customer input. And Gear is a great company. They modify their bags with a lot of input from customers.
Yeah.
Good group of guys.
So did you say that you can get a 500mm in this?
Yes.
In one side? That's great. So if you needed to, one side dedicated to a 500, you could have your bodies and a 70-250 in the other or something. But yeah, great bags, very light. I swear by these things. So
best-selling backpacks and real ergonomic.
Yeah.
Like I say, a great company. They'll have a lot of new stuff coming out as far as accessories and that that they're going to announce in Photokina, which is September 15th.
Okay.
And
you're going?
I'm fortunate enough to be there, and I'll actually be in the Gear booth and the Lenscope booth. They've got a booth they're going to share together, so allows me to get over there and find some new cool stuff to sell.
Yeah. So best of luck with that.
Thank you.
I wish I was going, but if anyone is going, then make sure you go over and say hi to Chris, because he's a really nice guy.
Thanks.
Have you got anything that you'd like to show us as well, Chris? We've got loads of stuff on the walls. You got Rick Salmon's on location.
Yeah, we were talking about Rick earlier.
Yeah.
And Westcott makes this, and they named it after Rick. And I don't know if he's getting any license fee or not, but he just asked me to make sure and put it in a good place where people would see it.
Let's kind of take this out, because
you've got all kinds of stuff in here.
You know
Still
what?
Wrapped up. But
I have the big 5-in-1.
Oh yeah, this is kind of the same stuff.
Yeah.
Although you've got a micro Apollo that goes over your get in front of my face here, over your speed light, diffuser, and I think
this
that's
is a silver and a gold reflector.
Yeah. All comes in a little kit. And of course, the kit prices are cheaper than buying them separately.
Yeah.
Westcott makes some great stuff. We carry a lot of stuff by them, but this is the only piece that's got Rick's name on it.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I think it was Rick that I heard it from, but I went for the larger one. But if you buy this today, you will get one that's packaged up with Martin and Chris's fingerprints all over it.
There you go.
Yeah, that's great. I see you have a fair amount of lighting stuff as well, but really the majority of your stuff is outdoor.
It is. Our local crowds really use a lot of lighting stuff because there's, in Louisville, Kentucky, there's not a lot of 500 and 600 lenses walking around.
Right.
And so as people started coming in, these are folks that shoot senior portraits, a lot of stuff on the go. So we picked up lighting stuff, and when I'm lighting stuff, I mainly mean speed light stuff because it's still portable, still mobile, and you're finding a lot of photographers ditching big heavy studio stuff and doing things they can carry around on location. So the flash modifiers and light modifiers we have are all in mind with being mobile. So it still fits with our outdoor theme. And a lot of our stuff is wildlife and nature oriented, but we are branching out into, I'd say, what we call mobile oriented for that. So trying to think of other stuff. We got light modifiers. We did pick up an interesting little company called Custom SLR, and like Black Rapid, a lot of people were putting their cameras over their shoulders. Some people have a camera strap they don't want to get rid of. So Custom SLR makes a little, we'll grab it right here. Okay. This is a little piece that screws onto the tripod mount of your camera.
Yeah.
It swivels, so you can hook any camera strap up to it and carry it the same way.
Yeah.
So it's less expensive than buying a full shoulder camera strap.
Yeah.
And these things have been hot.
Yeah.
So
nice. You often
again, we find little smaller companies. When we go to trade shows, we go right past the Canon and Nikon booth. I like to see what's coming as much as anybody, but business-wise, I'm going back in the back to find smaller companies that are either just getting started or just a few people run them, but they got a neat product. And that's the type of stuff that makes us a little more unique as a website. Yeah.
Well, you certainly stock a lot of the great things. I've found so many good little additions to my kit from you. So there was one other thing that I see over on the wall there I'm going to go and grab. But I often tell
You've been grabbing all kinds of stuff off the wall. You've had a great time here.
I have.
Oh yeah.
Apart from just meeting you in person for the first time, but I also use the Card Safe Extremes. I actually a number of times have dropped my card case. What I do is especially in a few years ago when the cards were smaller, you'd get to the end of a card and I'd try and switch it out, and then what would happen is a bird would fly past or something, and I'd go, I'd take the pouch, put it under my arm, do a few shots, and then forget that I got it under my arm, so that would drop down. And I've done that on a beach before, and obviously beaches are not the best places to have cards and stuff, although they're pretty robust. But since then, I thought, you know what, I often spend time in boats down in Antarctica, things like that, and so I searched this out, and it's basically you can fit 4 cards in, and you can fit the SD memory cards in the back there.
Right.
So you could actually fit up to 8 cards if you had 4 CF, 4 SDs. But once it's closed, it's waterproof, and if you were to drop it into the sea, it floats. So you could go back and scoop it back out. So it's slightly bulky, but you know, for the amount of cards you can get in there and to protect your valuable images, this is the only card case that I currently use. Even though bags often come with card cases, they generally just get stowed away somewhere, and this is the one that I use. So
Extreme. I wanted to show you. That's what they call it.
Yep.
Extreme.
Card Safe Extreme. So
I don't know if you can hear the phones ringing off here or not. I don't know if it's
I could hear it, but this is a business, you know. We're just going to go straight through.
Well, the young lady running the place, Kim, she's answering all the phones.
Yeah,
we know who runs this place.
Yeah. So, Chris, I'm going to put you on the spot, and we can edit this out if we need to. I haven't mentioned this before we started this, but do you have perhaps maybe a code or something that the users could use for until a certain date?
Sure, let's do. I can make it up on the fly.
Go on.
Because we just put it in the computer and it works,
yeah.
Right? So, how about call it Martin?
Martin,
and let's say just 10% off on anything. We ship in the continental U.S. We ship free.
Okay.
And then this way you can get 10% off on anything in the store, including expensive tripods and bags. And we'll just say that code is Martin10.
Okay.
So they can remember the 10.
Yep.
Is that okay if we use your name?
That's fine.
We can use
MBP. We
can't spell my name.
I can't even pronounce it. What is it again? Klepik?
Klepik, right.
Yeah, I'm
so Martin or MBP, you like Martin Bailey Photography?
Let's tell you what, if you can put it in afterwards, let's put in MBP 10.
I'll put it in now.
Yeah.
Well, not right now.
Yeah. By the time this goes live,
actually,
it'll be MBP 10.
Kim will put it in.
Yeah. So we'll use that.
And how long you want it to run for? When's this episode going to air?
I'll put this out in maybe 2 or 3 days. So
let's run it till the end of September.
That would be great.
Yeah. You can put it on your site too if you want.
Wow. So that's very generous of you, Chris. Thank you very much. It's been great meeting you.
I'm really glad you came in.
I mean, me too.
All the way from Japan to here.
Yeah. Well, it was all the way from sunny Fairfield, Ohio this morning.
That's okay.
But yeah, to get over here. But I mean, really, one of the main reasons why I wanted to come down and see you here today was just because you've not only been a great friend over the years, but I knew that you got all this gear, and photographers love to look at gear. And stuff.
Yeah. But where are you heading next, though? Right.
I'm going up after this. I'm going to New York. I'm going to go to Luminance 2012 first, and then after that, I'm going back over to San Francisco for the first US Pixels to Pigment workshop, which is the reason I'm here, the main reason I'm here. And then that's on I think the 15th and 16th of September. And then the following weekend, 22nd, 23rd, I think, I'm doing the Pixels to Pigment New York. And then the weekend after that, I'm in Toronto. And then I go to London so the 6th and 7th of October is Pixels to Pigment London.
Wow, so, you got a busy schedule.
Yeah, but then I'm going to have 10 days off and spend some time with family in the UK and practice my Ringo Starr accent.
Yeah,
Chris thinks I sound like Ringo Starr.
Well, you know, the funny thing is for the next couple of weeks, you'll be in the US and I'll be overseas.
Yes,
so,
yes. But
switching roles.
I'm glad that I caught you at the right time. Really, it's been excellent meeting you in person.
I appreciate you coming by.
Not at all. Thank you.
Right.
See you, folks.